I hope this video helps. Please check out my playlist, Evidence for Christianity, Evidence for the Bible, End Times, and the Book of Revelation. I'll leave links in the description for all four. Enjoy. Are you getting these pieces of hardware or little chunks of plastic that look like this inside your drink cup when you're using the ice machine? That would be because your auger nut is broken, like the collar there is probably snapped off, which is allowing this this E-clamp to come off of the auger nut. And I will show you how to fix this problem. I got the auger nut off of Amazon, and there's the part numbers. I don't know which one's the right one, but there it is. So it wasn't that expensive. Let's go ahead and replace it. So the refrigerator I have is a Frigidaire Gallery. It's an FGHS2631PF3. Alright, so open up your freezer, take out this tray, and then we need to get your ice crusher out. But first you want to shut off your ice machine. I already shut it off, but the way you shut it off is to push it that way. And then go ahead and just pull. Alright, so I got my tools and my parts here. You want to make sure you wash everything off, your new parts and old parts and your tools, since you're going to be using it in the ice machine, and the ice crusher and hopper there. And I'm just using a Phillips head screwdriver and alligator pliers for this job. Alright, so I got 4 screws, 1, 2, and then 2 on the bottom to take out. There and there. So this is the part that's broken. And you'll see that the collar has been breaking off piece by piece there. And that's why that E-clamp can't stay on there, because there's the collar on this one. Anyway, let's go ahead and take the crusher housing off here. And then we can remove that nut and then put the new one on. I forgot there's also these 1/4-inch bolts. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, and then 3 that you gotta take out. But that's part of my screwdriver, so. So getting the housing off at this point can be a little tricky because of the flap that switches it from crushed to cubed. You want to be mindful of how it goes together, because this needs to go in there a certain way in order to switch it correctly. But anyway, so you got your flap all the way forward, and then you can get your arm out of that hole. Alright, so here's the ice auger nut. So when dealing with this ice auger nut, you got to be really careful when tightening and loosening it up. But since this one's broken, it's not a big deal. I can just take it off. So just grab onto your auger and then unscrew it. Had a little bit of trouble getting that off because my ice auger nuts threads are all jacked up. I've had this thing apart over a dozen times probably. So there, it's off. Now we got to put the new one on. Alright, so got our new one. And then you just want to make sure that you don't cross thread it on those auger threads and ruin those ruin the threads on the nut. It goes on there pretty easy. Just make sure all of your spacers are not pinching this and keeping it from swinging. This has to be able to swing in order to get it in the correct positioning for the ice auger housing, or for the ice crusher housing. All right, so there we go. Let's go ahead and tighten it up. You don't have to make it extremely tight because it is plastic and you don't want to ruin the threads or break it in the process of tightening it. But you definitely want to clamp onto the back of it close to that ice crusher teeth, so you don't accidentally crack the collar there where the E-clamp is going to go. All right, that seems pretty tight to me. So you don't put the clamp on right now. We gotta put the ice crusher housing back on. So getting this ice crusher housing on is a little tricky. This plastic piece down here that's on these swinging teeth needs to go down into this area, and then we have to spring load this like that so that it wants to spring back that way, and that will control if you do crushed or cubed ice. So first thing, let's get a hold of this with the one hand to hold the arm back so we can get the housing over the nut, but we don't want it on the nut yet. We just got to get it past it, and then now we can let this go and get it inside this spot. There we go. And there, it needs to be up in this notch for the flap, because if you get it underneath it all, then it won't work. It won't move the flap at all. All right, so that's on there. And then there's a little notched out area that the housing goes over that bar. Okay, so it's on the auger nut. There we go. And then we need to, so as you can see, I did not get these into that spot that they belong. So that will also screw up your crushing. So we need to try and, there we go. Now, no, there we go, it fell down in there. And I was able to get it into the spot that it belongs. But in the process of doing that, my arm came out of the flap notch, so now we gotta move it kind of off the auger nut and get that back up into the notch of the flap, back on the auger nut. Check our, there we go. Now the swinging teeth, the plastic piece is down in there to hold those swinging teeth in place. Now you can see how difficult that is, but we got it. So now, when the arm is actuated there, it will work correctly. So let's go ahead and put our bolts back in. All right, so let's just double check and make sure everything's on there correctly. And if it is, then your arm, you can flip it back here and it will actuate that flap there back and forth, just like that. And then you want to make sure that chunk of plastic for the swinging teeth is in the correct place, and it is. So yay, we got that part done. Now we're ready to put that E-clamp and the washer on. So first part we're going to put on is the washer, and then the E-clamp here. It's got a notched out area in the housing in order to be able to do this. So give you a good angle on how I'm going to push this on. So I have the ice crusher upside down here, and I'm just going to push it on. I don't want to use a pair of pliers and grab onto the top and the collar of that nut, because I don't want to break the collar of that nut. So I'm just going to push this on. There it is. It's locked on there now. That was not easy to get on there. It was kind of tight, but we got it. So everything is on, and we've tested out make sure it's working. Let's just make sure that the auger turns. Yep, auger turns. And now we can put the front cover on. All right, got the front cover. Okay, it's all back together. Now you want to make sure you rinse everything off really good with water. That way, if we possibly got any metal shavings that had come out of the screw holes or slivers of plastic, then we can rinse all that out and not get it in our cups. Now that it's all clean, let's go ahead and put the ice crusher back in. And then you're going to need to move your ice maker flap up to get it out of the way so you can push it back all the way. There you go. Alright, it's in there. And then go ahead and turn your ice maker back on. There we go. Sounds like it's getting ready to kick some ice out. Now let's go ahead and test things. So we're going to test the cube and crush just to make sure it works before we even have any ice in there. And the way we do that is that we're going to look at that little tiny flap, that plastic flap that's up in there in the crushing housing. We're going to look at it through up here. So when you switch it to cubed and hit it, you see the flap look. You see that plastic flap up there open, and there's ice actually up in there. So now when we switch it to crush, that white plastic flap up there will stay over to the left. See, it doesn't open. Everything's back together and working correctly. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. If you want to connect with me, I have a public group called Share Your Trade on MeWe. I'll leave that link in the description. Thanks for watching.